Tangent Squad, happy Pollen Day. Are we doing? Today is April 6th, the day we're recording this. It probably will not go up today. But because it is Pollen Day leading into Pollen Week, we wanted to discuss our favorite delicious couple from Bridgerton season 3, be the culmination of your Pollen Week, friends.
Well, see, April 14th for me just is our pollen version of Valentine's Day. Instead of Valentine's Day, it's pollen.
Pollen Day is April 14th, 1 week after the day Penelope and Colin met in the books.
There will be another day when we finally get to the mirror scene. I am going to conclude that that week is the pollination week.
Yes.
It's gonna be a thing.
We gotta have special snacks. We gotta have some wine.
It's gonna be a thing. I feel like I need to make us up pollination shirts.
Yes, or we are part of the pollen nation.
Yeah, it'll be pollen nation, pollination. Yep.
We don't have a list written down today because this is our couple, guys. This is the ones we love them. So we're just going to freestyle and we're going to talk all things pollen and say, you know, I found some things on today that were posted that I want to discuss. So what is your ultimate favorite pollen moment, Miss Tash?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Like, okay, I feel like we need to kind of take the sexual moments out of it because
yes, I agree.
Those aren't fair. They can't compete with all the other things. That's a really, really hard one. And we are going to do
okay, so let's do this then. Let's talk. We both have different favorite kisses. So what is your favorite pollen kiss?
Why are you coming at me with the high order thinking questions this early in the morning, Patty?
Because you already know the answer to it. I was throwing you a softball.
I mean, for me, it has to be their first kiss because it was the most tender, and especially that, like, sorry, not the, yes, well, there's two. So there's the gentle kiss.
Mine.
Well, I know that, yeah, it's one of yours too, though, but they're both so gentle and tender and loving. And
you can talk about the first one, and I get the first. I get the first same page one.
Fine.
That's my favorite of all time.
But it's the giggles and the laughter and the happy and oh, I love it all. That's not fair. Okay, so yeah, it's gonna be their first kiss because it's the first time where they both, I feel like they just both lower their guards. They take off their armor, they lower their guards, and they just exist together. And all they are is two people in love kissing. And it is one of the most raw, tender first kiss moments that I think TV history has ever seen. It's not about sex. It's not ferocious and it's not an Anthony first kiss or anything like that. It sums up both of their personalities and their love together so perfectly up until the end where Penelope does get conscious. But that little head, just the resting of the heads together afterwards was just perfection. And it makes my little
wanting to stay in each other's space that close and not let it end. It made the kiss. Like, even though the kiss was over, that little moment at the end of I don't want to let go.
It perfectly sums up the lyrics, "Let it linger."
Yeah. And I do love this kiss. It's not my absolute all-time favorite, But a big reason why I love it is we see how their relationship is going to be as it develops. Penelope
Hmm.
asks, Colin answers. Colin was concerned, like he's always concerned about her reputation. And yes, he bribed the maid so they could be alone. I think for very different reasons. We believe in that moment he was going to propose to her. We think that in his head canon, that was his plan for the day. Let her gain a little confidence, flirting with some dudes, but then he was gonna
Colin's little checklist.
yeah,
Help
step
Penelope
one.
flirt with others. Check. Pick out some flowers for mummy. Check.
Check.
Ask Penelope to marry me. Check. And he's like, got it. He's like, do, 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 with this
She
little
said yes,
checklist.
because he could never imagine her saying no.
Bottom of the
That
checklist. If all goes to plan, the pollination. Check.
but yes, we at the Ladies Bridgerton believe that he intended to propose. Like he wanted to build up her self-esteem, give her a chance to
Yeah.
get out there and flirt with others,
He wanted to be
realize that she
chosen.
could, yeah, realize that she could have other people. And then he wanted to ask her himself because ultimately he knew that if he just outmassed her in the mindset that she was in, that she would see it as like a pity proposal.
Mm-hmm.
So
Patty,
what?
let's move on to your list.
Okay, so my favorite kiss of all time from Polin so far is in the carriage scene after the passion has waned and they have realized that they were in front of Bridgerton House and they had their moment of levity and intimacy and closeness and, just got the giggles. But just that moment where they both locked eyes and looked at each other and realized this is it.
This is
This
it.
is the thing. And they're like, we're doing this. Like that's all playing in their heads. And they just come in for that. It's like sealing the promise
Well,
of what they're
I
going to be. And it was just perfect. It was just lips to lips. It's sealing it with a kiss. They
yeah.
culminated that promise with the best kiss, just soft, tender, perfect little kiss to say, I'm yours, you're mine. Let's do this thing.
Well, and I remember that feeling all too well because my husband and I, we were friends for a few years before we actually got together. We were in the same friend group. And it was like we had this plan to be snowed in together. It was forecasted to snow, and it was like a really strong, heavily forecast for snow. And so he came over and we were just gonna chill out, order some pizza, watch some movies and everything. And at this point, we both, I think, knew that like the second that, but he came over, we're hanging out, but it's that giddy moment where you both know it's coming, but you know that the second that it happens, when you know that feeling when you've gone, and that's why I love Pollen, the friends to lovers, when you know when it's gone from friends and you know that your feelings have deepened, that when it's on that level of connection, you know that the second that you kiss, that's it. And for
Mhm.
me, the moment that we kissed, it sounds stupid and it sounds, love drunk and all the rest of it. But from that moment, I was like, this is me done. This is
Mhm.
this is me done. I'm off the market. We're gonna get married one day. And it sounds so,
Yeah.
I remember us kissing. And I remember thinking that night as I went to sleep, like, I'm gonna marry him one day. And there was
Oh.
no, and even like I think 2 or 3 weeks later, this is in June. 2 or 3 weeks later, we were booking our holiday for December for Christmas time on another island, and it was one of those moments where you just know. And for Colin, you could tell in that moment, he just knew this is
Yep.
it. There is no one else. There is nothing that competes with this feeling. This is my
Mhm.
woman.
Yep.
And I think even if it was in today's standards of not rushing into marriage and all the rest of it, I think even if it was in today's standards and they had had the friendship that they had and they kissed the way that they did, I think there's still a strong possibility that even in today's standards, he still would have asked her to marry him in that moment. even if it's not, you know,
Oh, I
Regency where you.
think even Colin, even if he was modernized, he is
Yes.
so romantic and he
Yes.
is so like into his feelings and very emotionally intelligent. He would have still crawled out of that carriage and said, "Are you coming with me?"
Yeah.
He still would have. I think if it was 2024 and they had modernized it, Colin Bridgerton would still be like, "Let's go." Like, let's do it. I'm
I
done.
think
I'm
I think
ready.
it's when you formed that, and we were just talking in the Bridgerton page about Colin being a demisexual, and it's because, you know, like we were saying in that page, it is because the emotional connection that they have developed, that when you have that level of emotional connection and then you add physical to it, that's you
Hmm.
done. There is nothing else. There is no feeling in the world quite like that. And obviously, it can
Correct.
happen the other way around where, you know, it's physical attraction first and emotional relationship later. And there's not to say that there's any right way about it, but because obviously I've gone the emotional connection, physical connection route, that's obviously what I connect to the most, which is why I love my little Polin.
Yes, I
So
I think
happy,
that
happy Pollen week, my little bumblebees.
okay, so kisses aside, we have discussed the important stuff. Um, what is your favorite pollen as couple goals? And this can even be pre season 3, just
Ooh,
a moment where they connect and it's obvious. Like, what is a pollen couple goal like? You're looking at them like, I want to be like that with
I
my
want to
person.
I want to put a poll out there, and this is not, don't read into it too much.
Drop a comment below your
No,
answer
no,
to
no. Well,
this.
I'm going to put a poll. Would
Okay.
you prefer be a bumblebee or a butterfly?
Uh, hmm.
Hmm. Personally, for
See, I
me,
would say
bumblebee.
butterfly because they're cute, but they have to chrysalis and they have to become goop and they have to totally destroy themselves to become that. Well, that kind of
I was
is
going to say, have you
have
forgotten about your divorce?
I forgotten about my whole life?
I was like, did you forget your divorce?
That kind of I hope I'm in my butterfly years. Like, that's what I want. I want to be in the happy golden butterfly years. I want the chrysalis to be over. I want to have emerged from the cocoon. I want that part
Whereas
to be done.
I'm a little bumblebee who soaks up the sunshine, who forages the pollen to turn into honey to make those around me happy and sweet.
Oh,
I'm a little
yes, you are.
bumblebee.
You are a bumblebee.
Um, Pick the girl who spent till midday in her pajamas yesterday watching bumblebee documentaries about bumblebee keeping. Sorry, not bumblebee, honeybee keeping with my little bumblebee, because he, as you could tell by the, oh, I don't think I actually even posted any photos from his bumblebee birthday party, but my
No.
4-year-old son, who just turned 4 last week, had a bumblebee themed birthday party because he is obsessed with bees. So we spent until midday yesterday in bed, not in bed, on the couch, sorry, watching documentaries about beekeeping.
That's awesome. Okay, so pollen couple goal. What moment are you like that's such a good connection. I want that.
For me, it's actually before they got together, because I think one of the really good things about being in a healthy relationship is
Mine's
lifting
from
each other.
season 1, so
Mine's from season 2. Mine's about lifting each other up and encouraging each other. And so for me, that kind of moment culminated in season 2. And yes, he was drinking, but you know, I digress. Um,
oh, I do love that
it's
moment.
you know, it's the moment where Penelope is talking so assuredly about her dreams and aspirations and what she wants for her life, and I feel like it truly inspires Colin. It makes him want to be a, like, Penelope is that trope of, you know, their relationship makes him want to be a better man, makes him want to have
He
something
actively
to aspire
strives to be a
to
better man for her.
for
Yes.
her, you
Yes.
know. And it's not or his family or anyone. Like it is very much because he wants to
It's
be
not for the world.
he wants to be who she sees him as.
Yes, it's not for the world. It's not for external validation in any way, shape, or form.
No.
He heard what her ideal was, because this is Regency time. So everything she said about her purpose, he saw that as what she was looking for in a match, because a
Yeah.
woman's purpose is to be a wife and to be a mother in that time. So he was seeing that as she's describing what she wants her man to be, and he stands up to meet it, you know, getting into business, trying to, a lot of his journey for purpose was, whether knowingly or unknowingly, depending on your head canon, him actively striving to be the man that Penelope described in that moment.
Yeah.
Now, mine is, again, whether conscious or unconscious, but it's the moment after the big scandal of Marina was revealed, and Sir Philip Crane came back and married Marina and took her to his estate.
Surely,
So
fervently.
no, it's actually
Oh,
much smaller than that. So it's after that whole scandal's over. And mind you, the Featheringtons were pariahs. The queen made them leave her garden party. The girls were all considered ruined. And we know Penelope has not been at Bridgerton House because that family is scandalized.
yeah.
And the moment when Colin is singing and Penelope walks in the room, he senses her and he turns and he sees her, and all is right in within his world again. Like, not even her, she was scandalized, she was, and she was nervous walking into that drawing room.
He felt like she was where she belonged to where she belonged.
Exactly, she is back where she belongs, she is in my space, I am happy Colin again. And he finishes that song so much more exuberantly than he
Yes.
started it. And it was like, in that moment,
Because now he's got someone else to perform for.
all of the issues with Marina and all that, like, he's able to kind of put them behind him. Penelope's back in his world, and the two of them have like a whole ass conversation without saying a word. Like, it's like, oh, you're here, I'm here, good. It's like they just have this whole conversation and they don't say a word, just the way they look at each other. And they're the only two people in the room almost, even though the room is crowded, until Eloise comes up and rips her away. But that
Story of
moment to
his life.
me, yeah, that moment to me is couple goals, because you can just see how her
Sense.
presence affects him and calms him and just makes him happy. Her presence alone, not anything she does, just her being physically present, makes Colin Bridgerton happy. And
Yep.
headcanon, I think he has feelings for her already, conscious ones. And his whole goal that season was to find a way to keep Penelope in his drawing room, or him in her drawing room, in adult life, when they may not have diverging paths, because he thinks they can't. And but if your head canon is not that, this moment is still couple goals, because unconsciously he's acknowledging, like, his subconscious is
His
acknowledging her
awareness of her.
presence. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
he's so aware of her. So that is my couple goals. Non-season 3, like, you knew in that moment their end game. Their end
But
game.
that's why I wanted to go non-season 3, because non-season 3 is just such, like, we got pow 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 of like just amazing Polin moments. But I
Yeah.
think season 1 and 2 are just like watching them fall in love or acknowledge their love. Like
Yeah.
the moments where they may not even say it to themselves, or they may think, as Penelope said to
Or they're
Eloise, they
about
or they
to
may
say it, I
or they
think,
may
and
think
they,
or where more so that they may think that, oh, maybe it's just puppy love, or maybe it's just infatuation. Like
Mhm.
Penelope played it down, but it was not. They were
No,
so acutely aware of each
no.
other all the time.
Like, even the beginning of season 2, Colin is like, we didn't get a chance to talk this morning. Like, he wants to talk to her. And
Well,
she's
and
like,
in the scripting, it says that he wanted to hug her, and he was thinking about, is it weird to hug her? Can I do that? And then his family barrels into the room, Hyacinth and Gregory, and like barrels into him, and then he loses his opportunity, and he seemed disappointed about it.
okay, so here's the perfect time to talk about this because we are talking, Polin moments. And this was posted by Bridgerton on TikTok today. I sent
Hmm.
you, I commented to you about it. Um, it was a sequence that talked about the dancing and
Yes,
how
Jack Murphy.
the language of the dancing and
Yes.
things like that. And Penelope and sorry, Nicola and Luke both discussed like where they were in the moment of their wedding dance, like having all this conflict between them and not really connecting, and how in that moment they could just pretend like the conflict didn't exist and just live in their feelings for each other, which was very
Yes.
beautiful. But what caught my attention was what Jack Murphy said. The man who choreographed the dance
Yeah.
said that this romance has been off and on and at times unrequited.
Yes.
So there's
At
layers upon
times.
there's that layers upon layers here. So in a room at some point when this couple has been discussed, even in previous seasons, I think there's been an acknowledgement that Colin understood he had feelings and that
Well,
there
and
was.
because Jack Murphy, he's incredible at his job. So for those who don't know, Jack Murphy is the dance coordinator for Bridgerton,
Yeah, the
and
choreographer.
dancing is an art of emotions,
It's its own
and
language.
it is its own language. Just as, using your fan can convey all sorts of different things, dancing can as well. And they even talk about in Regency periods, different dances hold different meanings. Like if you were doing the waltz, you are essentially proposing or saying, or proposing to propose. Like
Telling the world you're
it's
going to
it's
be in a,
it's a
yeah,
metaphorical promise ring when you waltz with
yeah.
someone. And that's why before a male goes up to a woman to ask, I have seen certain movies and shows, do you have permission to dance the waltz?
Yes.
Because that is something that mamas would talk with their daughters before. This person seems to be courting you. You should do the waltz with them, or I don't think you're there yet. That's not proper yet. So like that will be a discussion that they have beforehand.
Yeah.
It's not something that's
Keep
just going
your
to come out of
waltz
the
free. Like keep your
yeah.
waltz free because this is the man that we want you to dance the waltz with.
Yes.
If he asks, great. If not, at least your waltz is free and nobody will think you're attached to he won't think you're attached to someone else.
Yes, very much this. So I do actually want to go through at some point and see if I can find out what the different waltzes are throughout the season, and that might be an episode that we do is where we look at just the dancing, kind of like how we've done with the music, talk about the dancing and how the different connections are for the different couples. Like obviously we see Simon and Daphne in season one, and they do a number of different dances. We've got Marina and Colin, and how that differs from his dancing with Penelope. And people are like, oh, but Penelope and him did a fun dance, but that's because that's their love language, and
Did
they
a
do
fun
have more
dance what in
romantic.
season one?
Yeah.
Yes, they gave them a fun dance because it was
Yes.
impromptu. He was asking her in a way to save her, but I think he found a cheeky way to ask her to dance because a Bridgerton could not ask a Featherington to dance. I promise you. The way that Violet and Anthony talked about the Featheringtons, that was taboo. Penelope is a family friend, and we never saw what was in the books of Violet asking all of the sons to dance with Penelope.
It annoys me that we do not see. I really, really wish that we got
I'm glad we don't, and I'll say
Benedict.
why.
Okay.
I think that taking out the language from the books of Violet trying to get all of the men to dance with Penelope so that she would get a chance to dance as a wallflower, recognizing her as a wallflower, all of that would have lowered the value of Colin asking her to dance or taking her to, he
Yes.
didn't ask. He
Yeah.
said,
Was
I
made.
have this dance with her.
Yeah.
And like his eyes practically begging her, please agree, please say yes, don't ruin this, when Cressida had spilled the drink on her. So if Violet had been like, Antony, dance with Penelope, she's out now. Benedict, go dance with, make sure Penelope gets to dance tonight. By the time we get to that dance, Colin finally taking her to the dance floor would not have held as much weight.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think he had been wanting to ask her. I think that he didn't know how to go about it where it would not look a certain way to his family or the ton, but he wanted to dance with her. And this was the moment to do it. And she could ruin everything. He was really concerned with her saying no or saying, we're not dancing. You're not on my card, like playing obtuse. He was begging her to say yes. And like that girl was never going to not put her hand in his hand, please. But he doesn't know that. Right. So in that moment, you kind of see like where both of their feelings are coming from. Like he's nervous about could she possibly want to dance with him? And she is like ecstatic that Colin Bridgerton is taking her to dance. Well, and that she's getting to dance because she hasn't gotten to dance yet. But I just think that if we would have kept Violet badgering the sons to always dance with Penelope, we wouldn't have that moment be as iconic as it is. What is your favorite out of all the dances they do? What's your favorite dance?
I mean, there is only one, and there can only be one. It is one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs. We have A Sweet Dance. We have Pride and Prejudice. We have Taylor Swift. We have A Beautiful Dress. What more do you want from me, Patty? There is no more. There is no one else.
Very small.
Only.
It's very small, but if we're gonna have two, because there's two of us, I'm also gonna say the dance in the church.
I do love
because
that, actually.
it's so impromptu and it's so romantic and it's just him doing a quick little waltz and a spin. But in that moment,
I feel like
heard it was for the first time from someone who was not a family member that they love him, and it was believable because Marina was so calculated and he was blindsided by her being devious and duplicitous that he couldn't trust it. And when Penelope said it the way she said it, he completely believed it in that moment, which made his heartbreak over Whistledown later so much worse. But in that moment, you saw him be loved and feel loved for the first time by somebody who's not family.
I felt like that moment was the moment that they gave us in exchange for the walking to Grosvenor, like the dancing in Grosvenor Square where Penelope is and she's dancing to herself. Colin sees her and he's like, "Are you dancing?" She's, "No."
Yeah.
And he basically asks her to dance.
He's like, "Oh, because I was going to ask you." Yeah. He's like, "Oh, that's sad because I was going to ask you to dance."
And it does turn into a little bit of a sad moment where Penelope has to explain to him that they cannot dance because otherwise people would think that he is a suitor. And when it doesn't work out for them, people would all immediately assume that it was because of something that Penelope was lacking or something that Penelope did. AKA because Penelope's not pretty or skinny or, perfect enough to marry a Bridgerton because she's a Featherington and she's Penelope. So she, even though her heart is like singing and dying to dance with Colin, she has to turn him down and explain why she can't dance with him and like go.
Okay, so if we're putting, show and book together, like canon together, that is a helpful explanation of Patty canon that Colin has loved her since the dawn of time, but he sees so many obstacles, and that's one of them because he is concerned she may not have the same feelings, or he's overthinking the future, like what if it doesn't work out, that sort of thing, especially in season 2 after the Marina thing all blew up in his face. Like season 2 where
he's more cautious.
He's gotten to know her. He is more cautious because if it doesn't work out, who is the person who's going to be hurt? Penelope. And what is Colin's number one motivation?
Protect Penelope.
Protect Penelope. He is her white knight. He always has been. And it wasn't until season 3, like where he finds out she's Whistledown and she comes off of the pedestal that he had her on, that they can actually love each other on the same plane. I feel like, I know they're on the same
Yes.
plane at the
Yes.
beginning,
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
whole
yeah.
sitting on the
No,
bench,
I
but
100%
yeah,
agree.
for Colin, she had to come off a pedestal as well. And the explaining that book scene where she had to explain to him why it would not be a good idea to dance and how that would affect her and her reputation and everything in the ton, even though she is at that point a spinster because she's 28 in the book, that fully
Yes.
that adds a layer of nuance to that belief system of why hasn't, if he's loved her or liked or had these feelings for her prior to season 3, why hasn't he said anything? And that's why.
Yes.
Because if the ton viewed it, or if Whistledown talked about it and it didn't work out the way he wanted it to in his head, he wouldn't be hurting himself. The Bridgertons have got, I mean, the Bridgertons have gotten over scandal after scandal after scandal. The Featheringtons haven't gotten over anything. They've clawed their way back.
Yes.
They've not recovered like the Bridgertons recover. And he knows that. He objectively knows that. And he's not going to do anything that is going to jeopardize Penelope's chances with a good match, even if it's not him.
Okay, let's finish off with one final question. My time
Okay.
for the questioning. What is your favorite Polin book moment? Because they do differ quite greatly from the series.
Well, I'm going to give my favorite Pollen book moment is one we did not. Now, I will say, like, I absolutely love um You're My Mess from the book, and I wanted that in the show, and
Yes.
they fit it in perfectly. But my favorite Pollen moment from the book that didn't make it is his confession at the end when he reveals she's Whistledown to
And it was
everyone.
so cheeky.
And it was so cheeky. And it was like, she's smarter than all y'all. Like,
Yeah.
he basically
so
says,
proud.
she's so clever. She's so clever. She had you all wondering who it was. And it's been her the whole time. And I just like, just how proud he was of her and how he spoke of her. And then you don't talk about physical intimacy with the ton at all. And he completely breaks the rules. Now, I'm a newly married man, so we're going to leave right after this. And everybody's like, woo!
You know what? Originally, I was so happy that they gave Penelope her moment because I do feel like it should have been her moment. But upon like a lot, and I mean a lot of introspection, and not so intro because it's done with you most of the time, I actually wish that it was kind of Colin starting it, saying all that he had to say, and then inviting his wife up to join him to do the final reveal. I am Lady Whistledown, because I feel like
well,
his admission at the end, you know, where he's talking his wife up and saying all these things, and the way he was so cheeky about it, and but he was so proud, and I feel like that would have changed a lot of people's perspectives of how Colin was portrayed and betrayed by Jess Brownell this season in giving him a lack of depth. And I feel like it would have been a full circle moment if they gave him a shared moment with Penelope, because that's what it should have been. It should have been
and
a shared.
here's my thing, and this is like my fantasy ending, I guess, um, that I would have loved to see, that I think would have culminated everything. So the queen says, you're good, you can keep writing. She gets the queen's favor, but even after the queen leaves, she is up there and everyone is silent. And Miss Malhotra even's like, really, like everybody's still silent. They don't know what to do, they don't know what to think. Penelope doesn't know what her fate is within the ton in that moment. But they have built up for 2 seasons, 3 really, because Colin was viewed as a knight in shining armor for helping Penelope, even though they spent time alone and all that stuff. So the Bridgertons can weather any storm. And she is now a Bridgerton. So I would have loved to see that moment. Yes, I love Varley the Bugs, and I think it still could have fit in. But here's my thing. She's in the middle of that stage, and it just steps up to it. And all of the family are surrounding her in the crowd. So I think, like, first, Colin needed to walk up and
Yes.
take her hand,
Yes.
and it would just be the
Yes.
two of them. Then Violet walks up, Eloise,
I
Francesca. Hold on. No,
actually,
the family. The family.
no,
She's a Bridgerton now.
I actually want Portia
I'm
to walk up and join her first, and then Violet. So like Colin, the two mamas, and then the rest of the family. I feel like
well,
it has to be Colin,
Portia
then
would
Portia.
yeah, well, and like I would see like Colin and Violet, like she's a Bridgerton, Portia, then the sisters, all the sisters,
Yes.
and then Lady Danbury.
Danbury. Yes.
Because
Because
she is the queen of the ton. Even though the queen is the queen, Danbury,
yes.
everybody wants Danbury's respect. Everybody
Yes.
wants to be her friend, even though they're not. So
And the
if
queen
they
knows
all,
that if Danbury gives her, like, that's her seal of approval. And if
yeah,
Danbury gives it, the queen just about has to give it. Like,
yeah.
it's almost
Well, the
like
queen had
it's
already
forcing her
given
hand.
it.
Yes.
And with the queen's favor not being enough, because she's standing there, and Penelope already stood there on her own. She owned up to what she did. She already showed how much strength she had. But to see the Bridgertons come up and say, like, basically with their actions, like, she's family, she's one of us now. We are standing beside her in this storm. And then everybody walks up, and then it would still have to be Philippa though, because it was priceless.
The
Like
Barley the bugs.
Volley
Yeah.
the bugs, and
Well,
then the butterflies come out.
I kind of wish there was the Varley the Bugs moment, and and everyone comes and joins her.
I
I would
almost wish
never
there was the
ever.
Varley the bugs moment, and everybody is so intent on looking at the butterflies, but still nobody's reacted. That
Yeah.
the family just comes up and like she doesn't walk off the stage. It doesn't get crowded. Like there has to be that moment, not just of Colin accepting her and as both and being the woman he loves and all that, but for that full moment, because we have the moment she's a Bridgerton and she's like, crap, do I really want to be a Bridgerton right now? When the queen
hmm
comes in to the wedding breakfast and Colin's
Yeah.
like, Penelope, you're a Bridgerton now. She's like, crap, right?
Like everyone
We need
in
a
the books.
moment where it's like, it's good to be a Bridgerton. It
Yeah.
is
I mean,
good to be
I
a
won't talk about
Bridgerton.
it too much because, like, honestly, I do wish that the end scene. It's probably one of my biggest grievances with the show of how it made almost her seem still unaccepted when she was accepted.
Yeah.
But I want to get on to my favorite book moment.
Yeah.
And it's such a little moment, but it's such a moment of connection. And it's sort of a moment of realization for Colin in the books. And now it's been a little while it's been 4 months now since I've read it again. But from memory, it is the moment where Penelope stands up to Cressida when Cressida announces herself as Lady Whistledown, and and Lady Danbury kind of forces Penelope's hand to actually learn to stand up for herself. And she says, what do you think about this? Do you think that she is Lady Whistledown? And Penelope is like trying to summon the courage to speak her truth, obviously, and it is her truth because obviously she is Lady Whistledown. Not that Lady Danbury necessarily knows that, but she is trying to summon the courage, and Colin takes her hand and holds it. And just holds her hand while she summons the courage to actually share her feelings. And it's just one of those moments where it's really scary to open yourself up when people are listening when you're such an introvert. It's so scary. And he held her hand and he didn't say anything. He just held it and supported her in silence while she said her piece to Cressida. That it would break my heart to hear that Lady Whistledown was someone as cruel and, heartless as you. And in the scene, she finishes talking and the moment's over and people start dispersing and he can't let go of her hand. He's like, I wonder if, like, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but I think like he's
I
thinking
love
like,
that part too, because in the end, it's like, that was, a hard moment. Like it was awkward. It was difficult, but he held Penelope Featherington's hand for the better part of 5 minutes. And
yes,
like,
yes.
there's nothing
And
like,
at the end of it, when Lady Danbury is like, the suitors or something are a fool for not seeing her. And he's like, I see her. And he's saying this straight after
Yeah.
holding her hand for 5 minutes. And that's one of the things that I really, really wish that we got from season 3 was just those little moments of him supporting her coming out of her shell as
Supporting her
Penelope.
vocally, because I think you and I understand the, and we've discussed it plenty on the pod and everything, how Luke Newton turned a snack into a meal. He was not given a lot of words until his love confession in the carriage and then his love confession at the end. But he expressed so much with facial expressions, micro expressions that you can definitely read because he is so expressive as an actor. But little moments like that could have been pulled from the book, and it could have progressed things and really given Penelope confidence. Because even in the moment, like the full moon ball, right? He's trying to help her flirt with people. And like, if he would have said then, like in the book where he's like, I just don't understand why nobody sees you as beautiful, right? Like,
Yes.
it doesn't make sense to him. And her being self-deprecating as Penelope was in the book, and him say like, but I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that would have gone such a long way. I mean, we wouldn't have gotten 8 episodes of what we got, but I also don't think we needed all that angst. I mean, this is a friends to lovers. We did not need all the drama that we got. I
just needed the
love the
sweet moments.
season. I love the season. Don't get me wrong. And yes, I think Colin would have definitely gotten very dramatic over Lady Whistledown, because he's an emotional dude. But
Yes.
we didn't need it to turn like, not every romance needs to be a will they or won't they. Like, will they get together or will they make it? Like, it can just
Yeah.
be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tangent Squad, we are done talking pollen today on the start of this pollen week. And hopefully I'll have this YouTube up by the end of pollen week for you. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and comment down below your favorite pollen kiss, pollen moment, pollen couple goal, pollen dance. Give us all the tea. What drew you to
Excuse me.
this couple?
No. Give us all the honey.
Okay, give us honey. Give us the sweet. We want the sweet. We want the sweetness. But yes, comment down below and make sure you check out our podcast. If you're just finding us here on YouTube, we have our podcast here on YouTube, but you can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we thank you for joining us in our delulu of pollen.
Once again, thank you for listening to the musings of 2 pollinated women.
2 mad women, for sure.
Yours truly, Tash the Kiwi.
And Lady Patty.